Hello, welcome to CodeMan TV. Okay, today we are going to uh, discuss, or this is commentaries about the timeline of event in Ukraine. How does it happen? That is how it is resulted to invasion. So just because the war does not actually happen last year, 2022, it actually the result of occurring events, the result that is resulted into invasions. Okay, I have here the 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 timeline that is written from Reuters, so I have to read it and let's uh, decide if who are in faults of all of these events occurring. It is not about Ukraine and Russia anymore. It is really broad and really wide and complex events that seems to be the people in Ukraine are hosted. You might want to keep this as a lesson just because this kind of uh, uh, war what might be happening here in the Philippines, not now, maybe in the futures. It is not about if, it is about when, just because they are getting up toward this Asian or Indo-Pacific region that they say that they are being uh, hysterical about Indo-Pacific. So, okay, let's go back again to the previous invasion of Iraq or Afghanistan. After Iraq, Afghanistan. So, what happened is after the complete their task in Afghanistan, or they, as they say, they are retreating. It is because they are preparing it in Ukraine. Okay, let's read one by one. Oh, year and year events in Ukraine. Okay, first, this is the Reuters columns. Okay, 1991. Okay, shortly, I dare to 1991. That is the fall of Soviet Union. Ukraine declares independent. Now, in 2004, pro-Russian candidate Victoria Yanukovych is declared president, but allegation of vote rigging, okay, rigging protest known as the Orange Revolution. Okay, who has this is this is uh, best to remember that this Orange Revolution is not actually uh, the Ukrainian people. I mean to say that they are Ukrainian people doing the Orange Revolution, but it is engineered Orange Revolution to replace the pro-Russian president, the elected, but they replace it with pro-Western president, Viktor Yushchenko. Okay, now Orange Revolution 2004. It was 2004. Okay, so it is the West who are perpetrating this kind of revolution, just like it's a revolution in the Philippines. So now what they did is to replace the uh, democratically elected president with their uh, chosen puppet. Okay. Now, of course, the chosen puppet will actually take orders from them. Okay. You, the 2005, year 2005, Yushchenko take power with promise to lead Ukraine out of the Kremlin. Okay. That is the best promise of Yushchenko Yanukovych to the West, that they will not, uh, they will move out from Moscow and or Kremlin, and they will establish relationship towards NATO and EU. Okay, it is not it is worth noting that Russia does not have any problem to Ukraine joining EU. Okay, Ukraine to join EU does not have any problem, but Ukraine joining NATO is a problem. All right. So now 2008 NATO promises Ukraine it will one day join alliance. Right. So how is that? So after the fall of Soviet Union, the verbally the Western promise. Actually, after the World War II, okay, the merged the Germany, the the Western promise to USSR that if they are allowing to merge to Germany and break the wall, they will not expand NATO to eastward. Okay, and that is verbal, and the West did not deny it. However, this it is not formal written agreement or whatever. So that means to say the West does not have any credibility at all. That it broke its promise, or the Western leader does not have credibility at all. So even the word they can break the words, the promise easily, just because they don't have written. So wait for it. We have to remember it. That's only the first instance of uh, flown credibility from the West. Now, 2010, Yanukovych wins a presidential election. Okay, so Yanukovych government suspend trade and association talk with EU and opt to revive economic ties with Moscow, triggering months of mass rallies in Kiev. Okay, who is Yanukovych again? Okay, so it was 2010 Yanukovych wins presidential election. Okay, let's go back to 1991. So it was okay, Viktor Yanukovych. Okay, in 2004, it was Viktor Yanukovych declared president but removed by Orange Revolution from the West. Removed by the West using the revolution, Orange Revolution. Now in 2010, Yanukovych again, which is pro-Russian, wins the presidential elections. Now, the same tactics they did in 2000, in 19, let's say 2004, they also staged revolutions, uh, okay, rallies to remove the again to remove again, okay, to remove again the democratically elected president. Okay, so now it has a mass protest in Kiev. Now, February 2014, Parliament vote remove Yanukovych. Okay, the West removed Yanukovych twice. It is because Yanukovych will establish again a, a relationship with Moscow. Okay, do you see the pattern? They want the Ukraine to be like hostile neighbor to Moscow, which it should be not. You should not be hostile in your neighbor, right? So they want it again. They did it again twice, not once, twice. Okay, it is a democratically elected president was removed twice by the West through is revolution or like that. So it is funded by the West. They did not actually deny it. They did it. Now, in the protests within the days, armed seized parliament in Ukraine region, Crimea, and raised the Russian flag. Moscow later annexed the territory. Okay, so since the elected 2014, since the elected president removed twice by the West, the it is uh, a dangerous event that all of the pro-Russian citizens in Ukraine actually establish themselves and decide for themselves just because they don't actually believe and they don't accept it. Okay, just like what happened in our EDSA revolution, which our president being abducted to Hawaii. So, okay, what they did is actually disrespectful to our country. Now, what they did is remove again the president in 2004. So, the Ukrainian citizen is split into two, actually, into a fragment. Oh, there is Luhansk and Crimea and Donetsk. So, the Luhansk, Crimea, and Donetsk is pro-Russian and they speak Russian. They are native Russian way long before the Ukrainian was uh, gaining a lot of lands from, as they say, a gift from previous president of the USSR. Now, Moscow later annexed territory of Crimea. Now, actually, there is a referendum of Crimea that Crimea actually voted at 80% of the vote favor in Moscow, that they are wanting to return to Moscow. You want to return to Russia. Now the Crimea is now belong to Russian territory, and now the two separatists, the Ukrainian called them rebels. Since 2014, in Luhansk and Donetsk is fighting for their lives against Ukrainian governments or Ukrainian, we call it Ukrainian installed president. We don't want to call the president a president just because it is not elected president. It was installed after the revolution again. Now, the pro-Russian separatists in eastern region of Donbass declared independence. Some 15,000 people have been killed. See how many people. I know. It is noted here that it is 15,000 people have been killed, and they are all civilian. Since 2014, in fighting between the separatists and the Ukrainian army, according to the Kiev. However, guys, this what so-called Ukrainian army in 2014 is not actually all of them are Ukrainian army. There is already the what so-called the neo-Nazi, the the private army that is not belong this not yet belong to Ukrainian armies. Now after that, the and so on, before the Russian invasion in 2022, that armies it, includes in Ukrainian that private army it includes Ukrainian force. Now it doesn't matter who they are actually mercenary or neo-Nazi, but if they are able to help fighting with Russian, then they can be their soldier. So they are now incorporated to Russia or to Ukrainian soldier. Now in 2017, an association agreement between Ukraine and EU opens market to free trade of goods and service and visa-free travel to EU for Ukraine. See, 2017, the EU membership of Ukraine has been approved and it offers free travel to EU and Ukrainians and food trades. Okay, so it does not happen. The Russia or President Putin really told it to the media that Ukrainian joining EU is okay, but joining NATO is not okay. But that's only the one thing that we have to consider, that joining NATO is also part of Russian effort. Part also part become part of one of only Russian effort to protect themselves against the Western or not Western and NATO uh, military force. Okay, it is now 2019. Former comic actor Volodymyr Zelensky is elected. Okay, so yeah, actually Zelensky was actually elected. Now, what happened is he was chosen by the people of Ukraine just because he promised to establish connection with Russia. And after that, he did not. He actually broke his promise and do the thing that is opposite to what he is promising to the citizen of Ukraine. Now, 2001, Zelensky appealed to U.S. President Joe Biden to let Ukraine join NATO. In February, his government frees the asset of opposition leader Viktor Medvedchuk, okay, the Kremlin most prominent ally in Ukraine, okay. Well, actually, you see the pattern. It is actually legal for a government to freeze a citizen asset. I don't know, but the sanction begins in Ukraine citizens, not in Russia. Just because Russia is not yet, we call it, Russia call it a military operation, a special military operation, just because they say it is limited. But in the West, they call it invasion. Okay, so it is 2001. The invasion does not happen yet, but the sanction is already there. The Zelensky already sanctioning all of the opposition that is not aligned with his view of governance. Now, let's proceed to spring. This is spring in 2021. Russia began massing troops near uh, Ukraine borders in what it says are training exercise. Okay, we are all familiar with the training exercise, right? So, Western nation NATO is doing a lot of this exercise, even in faraway lands such as Asia, okay, Middle East, okay, near the border of China in the Taiwan Strait. They, they are also doing the military exercise, okay, with Korean military and Japan. Now, November 2021 satellite image taken by Maxar technology show ongoing build-up of Russian force near Ukraine with estimate zone surpassing 100,000 troops. Okay, so we know that 2014 it says here that the 15,000 people have killed was not actually killed in 2014. It has actually killed from 2014 going to 2021. Okay, so there is constant war in Ukraine versus separatists and Ukrainian government. Okay, then let's proceed to 2001. So December or November, okay, December 17, 2021, Russia present a security demand including that NATO pull back troops and weapons from Eastern Europe and bar Ukraine from ever joining NATO. Okay, this is the last straw of Russia solutions. Actually, a NATO moving eastward is actually happened fourth time. This inception of Ukraine should be the fourth time, Ukraine and Georgia. So, but then actually Russia is all using all of option or exhausted all of the options to negotiate. Okay, diplomatically, but the West does not listen. Now, okay, January 24, 2022, NATO puts a force standby, reinforce Eastern Europe with more ships. Actually, guys, there is a missing piece in this column. The Minsk Agreement. They forget to write it here. The Minsk Agreement, actually, there is one Minsk Agreement and there is second Minsk Agreement was by both Ukraine and other NATO members. Okay, Victoria Nolan also aware of this, and he was asked about this, and she was asked about this, and she say the Minsk agreement or accord was actually signed by them in order for the Ukraine to prepare, or they are actually preparing Ukraine forces to develop and face Russian soldier in Ukraine, just because what they want is they want to beat, okay, Russia in Ukraine. Okay, they actually wanted Russia to just like USSR before to split in multiple region. So why that is because they want to divide Russia, they want region change, they want to everything, they want to topple Russia, they want to destroy Russia in order for them to get Russia, just because Russia has a lot of oil. You know what? You know what happened in Middle East? The Middle East is the uh, countries rich of oil reserve. So what they do is uh, go there, uh, invade the countries, and place puppet. That the puppet, they are willing to follow what the orders from Washington. So so in that case, the have installed World Bank. The bank, the oil is all for them. Okay, so it's all about resources, guys. It is the war of economy, and just because Russia is rich in oil. So let's talk about also that the Nord Stream 2 does not happen yet here, but later on. Why is that? Nord Stream 2 being sabotaged just because they want uh, the NATO or the European Union to suffer and blame it on Russia, and it's all about Russian fault. Now, in January 26, Washington responded to Russia's security demand, repeating a committed to NATO open door policy while offering a pragmatic evaluation of Moscow concern. 2 days later, Russia said it demands not address. Okay, still, from the long time, 30 years, Russia has been fighting for this. The expansion of NATO eastward really concerned. More so that the United States withdraw the treaty that is to limit or the deployment of uh, long-range nuclear weapon. I mean, short-range nuclear weapons or medium range or uh, nuclear weapons in Germany, in countries that is member of NATO. So when is that happen? That means United States can place intermediate range missile around Russian border. That's why they withdraw it. It is well planned long ago that this will happen, and they will do it in order to, just because the only Russian government is resisting one world order. That means one world government led by the US. But the global south, they called India, China, and including Russia, is not agreed with that plan of one world government led by USA. So what they are planning in a in opposite is they are building like of bricks that is opposite from the laid out plan of the Washington. The one world government is really dangerous. Why? Today, American citizens' voices does not matter anymore. They don't have consent about the tax, the money sent it to Ukraine, 100 billions of that money, where it goes, there's no accountable. Oh, I mean, there's no accounting. Okay, if that happened, one world government, there's no balance. So Russia is resisting with that kind of uh, plan of the Western nations. Now, so in order for that, they are going to likely to, of course, destroy Russia and then China, and they will actually have their goal very successful. Just because when the Russia is destroyed, or they actually topple Russia, then that China is really open at the back, or really surrounded, and also India cannot do anything, just because India stand is always remain neutral. India does not ever take side, even from history. So even World War II, India still remain actually. World War II, India is occupied by British, so it is basically fought with Allied force. However, in India perspective, they are always neutral country. So they stand their ground when the West are asking them to uh, sway or vote in resolution to vote against Russia. So I still remember there is an interview that says, "Why are you sitting at the fence?" And the Indian, it's a prime minister response is, "No, I don't sit the fence. I sitting my ground. So it is because I don't agree with you. You call me. I'm sitting the fence. That means he is actually sitting the ground. He stand for himself, decide for itself, not decide based on what the narratives of the West." Now let's continue. That is January 26th, okay, 2022. Now, so it says the Russia says it demands not address. Okay, so also the Minsk Accord or Minsk Agreement 1 and 2 is not implemented. However, it already signed by Ukraine, Russia as the co-implementer, and other NATO countries, but they did not enforce it. Ukraine is still going on and killing civilians in Donbass and Donetsk until around 15,000 being killed. Now, also we cannot remember that plane that is Malaysian plane also crashed in Donbass region. It is because they say the supplied weapon of Russian hit the plane. So okay, we cannot remember. Oh, we cannot forget that. So it is also the product of the aggression in both sides. So, but the end, the casualty is all civilians. Now, February 2022, amid growing Western fear Russia could attack Ukraine, the United States say it will send 300,000 extra troops to NATO members Poland and Romania. Washington and allies say they will not send troops to Ukraine but want to sever economic sanctions if Russia President Vladimir Putin take military action. Now, that's the goal. They don't want to fight Russia, but they want to topple Russia or destroy Russia economically. Okay. Now, that's the wishful thinking of the West. Just because Russia is already has been allied with China, and the China is buying, and India also buying their products, especially the natural resource such as the oil, gas, iron, and so on. So they don't sanction Russia. The India don't sanction Russia, even uh, with the a lot of uh, suggestion or maybe order from the West or Europe that India should take a stand, and also Iran. So it is very difficult for the Western country or NATO to reach their goal, just because the most populated countries in the world does not align with them. So Russia is still standing today and is still able to kick Ukraine out in Donbass and Donetsk. Now, they are thinking that the Russia is not capable of gathering. Actually, Russia, we don't know. That is only what they say in maybe propaganda, but actually, Russia in that we call it hermit. Uh, the that is uh, the country that is established long time before America was even there. Now, in February 2021, in a TV address, Putin says, okay, this is Putin says Ukraine is an integral part of Russia's history and has puppet regime managed by foreign power. Putin orders what he called peacekeeping force into a breakaway region in eastern Ukraine after recognizing them as independent. Okay, so now the Russia is sending troops in Ukraine, especially in Donetsk and Luhansk region, the breakaway regions, a peacekeeping. And then February 2022, the US, Britain, and their allies sanctioned Russia. Parliament member banks adverse assets in response to Putin troop ordered Germany halt the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. So why that is? Now let's okay. This is like of double standard policy of the NATO and USA. Just because they are using the sanction to make the citizen of that country suffer and will ultimately raise uh, against the government, and let's say overthrow the government rebels against the governments, and that are the wish of the NATO. However, it doesn't happen in Russia, just because I think Russia is really aware of it, and any saboteur, they call it saboteur, or any propaganda from media, any funding whatsoever, just like what they did in Ukraine twice, is being halted and being subdued by the Russian force. Russian, let's say KGB, as the KGB is uh, the equivalent of CIA in United States. Now, in February 2020, the Russian-backed separatist leader asked Russia for help repelling aggression from the Ukrainian army. Okay, actually, since 2014, the Ukrainian separatists already asking this for Russia for help. But however, Russia can't do anything just because this is Ukrainian. If the Russians step in, they will call it invasion already. Now, so after the 15,000 death of civilians in Luhansk and Donetsk. Russian-backed separatists. Okay, in February 24, 2022, Putin authorized a special military operation. This is while President uh, Putin is talking, the Russian forces already began the special military operation and strike major Ukrainian cities, especially the military bases. Okay, that is the strategy to deter Russia, to deter Ukraine military forces for continuing the attack in Luhansk and Donetsk Republic. It should be disabled. Now, it is the same tactic of the West when they invaded Iraq. They discriminately attack everything that primarily the 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 military bases, the military infrastructures, and also the same as when they invade in Libya, in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan. Okay, so but then when you heard news in propaganda TV, you will say, I mean, they will say that all of that is or that are civilian buildings, civilian infrastructures. Now, February 26, 2022, Western allies announced new sanctions, including restriction of Russia's central bank, expelling key banks of main global payments. Okay, this is the okay. Now, that is the end of the story. Okay, the now it is March 7, 2023, and the the right now they are fighting in Bakhmut, and the last uh, news we heard is it's already captured by Russia. Now, the Russia economy is becoming even stronger than before. So the sanction failed. Even actually the sabotage. Oh, I remember the sabotage of Nord Stream pipeline. Even though the sabotage the Nord Stream pipeline, the which say that Russia uses it as a leverage on NATO, or uses the gas or resource of Russia to enslave NATO. Okay, how is that? So what they did is to sabotage the Nord Stream pipeline going to Germany from Russia, and now they are buying liquefied gas from USA, and the company is moving to USA from Germany and from other European nations. Now the Europe actually the one suffer. I mean the NATO was actually the one suffer from the sanction they imposed on Russia. So Russia does not. So Russia can continue the wars on and on without suffering any financial and any. However, the Russia is will never be the same as before, just because they are now aware that the West does not give value with their security, does not actually honor their words. So politically, Russia will never be the same as before after the crisis or the war in Ukraine will complete, or after the war in Ukraine. So Russia will never have been to be the same again. Establishing a relationship with the US. So I think they will never actually believe what the US president says or right, just because the breaks the lies about the expanding NATO eastward, the break the treaty of in intermediate range nuclear weapons or missile, they break the Minsk agreement, Minsk accord, Minsk 1 and 2, which is they are the signatories, both sides, including Ukraine. Also, now the STARS treaty, which is to limit the amount of warheads, both countries, and also to allow check-up, both sides. Russia suspended it just because Russia cannot uh, actually check the nuclear warhead in the US. Why is that? And US demanding to check Russian nuclear warhead first while they are at war in Ukraine. So that is, as President Putin says, absurd. And that will expose, and this is the security reason why is that suspend. Just because that will expose Russia, expose Russia nuclear and maybe sabotage. Now, that is the end of the story of Ukraine for now. So right now, the war is ongoing. I just want to remind everyone here in the Philippines that the same thing will happen, and actually it already happens before in our country, just like IDSA revolution, with our elected president not only being overthrown and replaced, it is also kidnapped to Hawaii and returned with its dead body. Now, our current sitting president is his son, Junior. However, it fell again in the trap. Okay, maybe it was driven just because during election time, his campaign is different. But then later, after he sit on the as president, the first congratulatory message received from Washington, uh, Joe Biden called him, and China only write a message to him. Okay, so what I want to tell you is we have to be aware that there is outside force that is shaping our every decision, and the money that they put on really have a lot of impact, just because people wouldn't think too much about receiving money from that NGO that is portraying NGO, and they will do what it does, what it says, just because it pays you. Really, that's it. That's what happened in Ukraine. You have to be careful in terms of having to deal with outside or foreign uh, nationals that is in your country and will say that you must do this, you must hate your government, you must overthrow your government. He did not perform well. He does a lot of bad deeds. Okay, and we'll suggest that we have to go to street and fight for our freedom. Actually, that thing will confuse you even more, that you don't know what you do, and you might happy that at one thing you receive money from them, and in return it destroy us all. Okay, thank you. If you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. Okay, you will hear like commentaries like this, and hola. Thank you very much.